Get ready to kick off your week with Weeksauce. And if you enjoy this show, find more podcasts like it over at amove.tv. Happy Monday, Kyle.
Oh, happy Monday, Garrett.
You sound like Monday. If I had to cast a voice actor for Monday, that voice would get the job.
Oh, I feel like a Monday man. Whew. I've routed my brain something fierce on a little something called XCOM 2.
Ooh, dude. Oh, nice. Yeah, I had a brain rotting Sunday evening. I stayed in bed from 7 p.m. last night until I woke up this morning. I haven't done that in I can't remember when, but we finally put a way to stream anything in our bedroom. So we were just like, yeah, we're gonna just watch the Westworld finale here, and then we're gonna watch some more Boardwalk Empire, which we're currently binging, and then we're gonna watch some YouTube videos, and then we just went to sleep. It was great. It was the best Sunday night I could have ever hoped for.
That always gets me antsy. I can't hang out in bed because by the time I get to bed, I'm like, I was just here.
The key is, Kyle, to just never leave.
Oh, then you never get used to leaving that bed. Yeah, that makes sense.
Have an early dinner, shower, go.
I mean, I did make sure that I was actually reclined. I was feet away from the keyboard using my Steam controller. And they actually sell XCOM 2 as a Steam controller bundle during the sale, and you can get it ridiculously cheap, but it's not supported. But people have done the good work and gone through and made custom UIs. I mean, it's really easy, actually. You just go through and you select whose sort of profile you want to use, and there's one called the official XCOM 2 controls done by some fan, and it works great.
Nice, dude. Yeah, I've played a little bit of XCOM 2 with the Steam controller. It works really well. It's impressive to say the least.
Yeah, it takes some getting used to. Of course, on the computer there, it's not going to give you any alerts to what your Steam controls will be. But man, I'm loving it. I mean, I'm losing hard.
You got to be careful with the skip turn button. I would consider just unbinding it to anything on the controller so you don't accidentally end your turn.
Yeah, it's there on the the select button, the not start button.
Yeah.
I've learned my lesson.
I bet you have. So that's your summer sale purchase is XCOM 2?
That's my big one. Yeah, I mean, just like last show, I was saying $90 for the full game and the expansion, but I got it for $44 with all the little, dress up packets and whatnot. And I don't really dress up my guys. If they get to level 5, they are rewarded with a hat. If they get to level 3, they get color-coded. But otherwise, you're expendable because it's Iron Man mode only round here.
Very cool. I think that's about what I spent for XCOM and the expansion back around the winter sale. Is when I picked it up.
Well, War of the Chosen is really sweet and sits on top of it, adds a sort of nemesis system, a light one, because you only have sort of 3 bad guys. But you get hero units voiced by basically the Star Trek cast. Worf is phenomenal. I mean, I forget the doctor's name. I think it was from Next Generation. She plays the Reaper. And then Alarak is in it as a freaking psionic warrior with double psi blades. We're like, what? So, John Delancey, right? Just, it's really well done, and it's no wonder why they got so many Star Trek actors, because it's all just sci-fi mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. I like the voice acting a lot in that game. That expansion is phenomenal. I love the new sniper class. That's the Reaper, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, dude, they're sick. They're so overpowered.
Well, the Lost stuff they add, the zombie hordes, basically,
yeah,
are really welcome.
They're fun to play against.
It's so different because you don't have to worry about cover. So, you're on a lost mission. Granted, some aliens might be hiding somewhere in there and completely school you when you're trying to book it at top speed to the extraction point.
Yeah. This is the first Steam sale in a long time where I have not purchased something like right out the gate.
Well, because you had everything? Is that
but
your own fault?
I'm in Jurassic World paralysis. I want that game. It's not on sale. It's more money than I want to spend on something that I don't do for a show.
Sure. I mean, you've also heard about the scandalous takedowns on Twitch over the weekend, yeah?
No.
Oh, the crackdown came on music. So put away your playlists in the background because you will get yourself a 24-hour ban from Twitch.
Really?
Yeah.
It's the first I'm hearing of this.
It was a lot of record companies. And when I think record companies, I always think of rap because they're the most defensive. I think because they probably make the most money, rap albums, it seems.
I don't know. I think of Metallica just because they're D-bags.
Well, I mean, who's the D-bag? I mean, yeah, Metallica in particular kind of got on stage and was like, hey, stop it. And Britney Spears and basically everyone South Park made fun of 10 years ago. But this was, the first big crackdown on music being played in the background and people who were playing Jurassic Park. Oh, yep, 24-hour ban.
Oh, shit. Really?
Yeah, you got to be careful streaming that game. And Grand Theft Auto because it has a radio and all sorts of other business.
So soundtrack is getting flagged?
Well, remember, Blizzard is kind enough to say you can play our games and these are our soundtracks. And while we sell soundtracks, we'll allow this. But some companies haven't.
Okay. Wow. Okay, cool. Good to know. Because before this, I was going to put on music while I waited for you to show up. And just for shits, I was feeling Wings of Liberty. So I put on the Wings of Liberty soundtrack. So I should be okay.
Oh, yeah. No, Blizzard doesn't care. Of course, probably might want to be careful with Nintendo music. I mean,
I don't dance with Nintendo. I will... I don't think I'll ever make content for Nintendo.
It would be difficult as the online experience is not quite there.
No, it's not. You could not put that nicer.
Well, it's a tradition at this point. I'm not surprised or anything. I'm not waiting in the sidelines going, it's going to happen.
True.
I also don't ask for Blizzard to give me clan supports.
Oh, but
I know where to pick my battles.
I love Pokemon so much, but it's just Nintendo sucks, man, about that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's. I don't know. I actually don't know what's going on there. It's so interesting to see other countries' culture towards piracy, and Nintendo has it on lockdown, whereas right across some water there is China that kind of does whatever the heck they want.
Yeah, exactly. You remember the GameCube. Let's make our discs half the size and spin them the opposite direction.
That may have been actually really good protection.
I think it turned out to be. I'm sure there were ways to pirate GameCube games, but...
Sure, and I remember that my little disc tray that came out of my Dell computer had a tiny hole for my tiny discs should I ever have purchased them. But it's just a smaller disc. Like, that's what was so stupid about it, is you were literally selling me less content in a sense, or the availability of less content.
Yeah. Well, the crackdown on music to a certain degree does not surprise me. I kind of felt that was coming. But yeah, they gotta be doing something about shit like Jurassic World, right? 'Cause what am I supposed to do for music if I want to stream that game?
Put on the classics.
I guess put on Blizzard music.
Yep, you could do that. You could Google YouTube open source music and stuff like that.
I'll just run a loop of the Jurassic theme park played on a kazoo.
There you go. Perfect. I'm happy to see, actually, that game is surprisingly deep. When on release, a lot of the Roller Coaster Tycoon fans and myself all thought, there's no rides. It's low customizability. It's my phone playing music. I have a phone now, by the way. Which means
I think for our listeners, Kyle hasn't had a phone for over a year.
I haven't, and it started playing music probably because Kristen is doing dishes and she tried to put music on hers. I can do like the OK Google thing, and It already wants me to start saying stuff, and now it's typing out everything I'm saying. It's going to Google that once I'm done.
I have that for Hey Siri. Oh, it didn't work. I think because I have it on Do Not Disturb.
Fantastic. I mean, it's really cool. It goes at damn light speed compared to my phone I lost 2 years ago, which was, I didn't lose it. I just stopped caring.
What, we don't really talk tech on the show all that often. What phone did you end up going with and why?
I got a Google Fi, so it's a Moto X4. So we did the Google plan with the Google stuff. Everything I do is tied to Google anyway, so I figured why not just continue the investment.
So what made you go for that phone?
It's the one my wife liked.
Oh, so you both upgraded simultaneously.
Yeah. I mean, she still has her phone. She does a lot of socializing. She loves to read, so she's always doing, Kindle books and whatnot. Wanted a bigger screen for it. Wanted some new fancy features. To me, it's basically a plaything. A plaything I have to be careful not to tilt myself with. So, I'm not installing Twitter. I've connoisseured my news articles because when I awake, I want to see not exactly happy news. It doesn't have to be all sunshine and rainbows, but it's something at least Kotaku wrote. Like, I don't like Kotaku, but it's not like it's scandalous, but it's not gonna upset me.
Fair enough. All right.
It's poorly written, yellow journalism, and that isn't gonna tilt me.
I think phones are my first noticeable old man quality.
What makes you say that?
I think Apple makes shit phones now. I think they are doing a bad job, and yet I keep buying iPhones because I don't want to learn something new.
I mean, you also have the convenience of, crashing well, let's not say crash. Your car breaks down in the middle of rural Get-Stabia, and and you walk into the corner store, and you desperately needed a case. And you know what? They have one for your iPhone.
If my car broke down in the middle of somewhere I was afraid of dying, why would my first concern be to get a case for my phone?
I'm just saying that a iPhone case would be available to you basically everywhere you went. Whereas, my Moto here, I've got to custom order something, which just makes it all the harder to actually get to.
It's all fine. It's all fine, Kyle. I'm sure it'll be all right.
No, it will be. I just can't decide, I got to be careful. I'm a fidgeter. My previous cases have all been destroyed by my own hands. Whether, it locks. Oh, it has locks on the side. Better click those while you're sitting there. Click, click, click all day long. Oh, it has a little button at the top that undoes the clamshell. Better play with that. Oh, it's broken because it was spring based. Whoops. I got to be careful with myself. If it's just a backing that's rubber, sometimes it has multicolored rubbers, and you can start picking at them and rip them apart.
I was actually in a very rare social what's the word I'm looking for? Social setting yesterday, where a room full of people all in unison proclaimed "damn it" to the lack of a headphone jack in their iPhone 7 and forward.
What? I mean, but why did that happen?
Because I was in a very unique social setting, Kyle. I was our mutual friend Brian is in town.
Oh, yes.
I was expecting you to have a reaction.
Brian goes to Florida.
Brian goes to Florida. Yes, Brian, who does the music for this show and for Angry Chicken and the outro music over on Into the Nexus. Makes a lot of music for us. You were his roommate for many years in college, and I have known him since I was 3 years old. Anyway, he's visiting, and I went down to hang out with him, and he and his dad were having a jam session, which is if you know them, is a very common thing for them to do. Brian is the sickest bass player you will probably ever meet in your life, and his dad is a big fan of rocking some blues on the guitar. So he'll invite all his buddies over, and they'll have a big jam session. Anyway, I show up, and the only thing I know how to play is pop punk. And they're like, "Oh, Garrett, play something. We'll figure it out." And so the drummer wanted to hear a drum beat. And we did not have an easy way of playing that music over our damn phone through any of the many speakers in the room.
Because there was no jack.
Exactly. You don't have a dongle, you're out of luck.
So they sold you just I have a hole on the bottom. Like, why not?
I Apple.
Because it's too thin? Because there's a Bluetooth headset available?
There is a Bluetooth headset available. I believe it is also technically too thin. And if I remember when this is back when the 7 came out, right? I have an 8, and I skipped the 7, but the 7 is the one where they first took the jack out. I believe they referred to themselves as brave.
And
How
bold of them.
Yes, whereas I refer to them as jackasses that haven't been able to make a good product since Jobs passed away.
Brutal.
Yeah. However, I don't want to learn an Android or any other phone, so I just keep buying iPhones.
Well, I do like this thing. I think the coolest thing about it is it was very human. It was a good experience. I started it up, and it told me how to do the features of which you would care about when starting up. And as I started to explore and learn new ways to play with my phone, it then started being like, hey, like Google does, hey, by the way, you can also do this. And I'm like, really? I'd love to. And I'm like, okay, 5 hours pass, and it's like, by the way, we notice that you've been switching between these two apps often. Did you know that you can use this to switch? Oh, I didn't. Wow, thank you, Google. It's just been really nice in that way. Yes. Also, because I scroll right and I get video game news because it knows my Google searches, I know a lot of useless crap that's going on in the world of video gaming.
I feel like the video game landscape has been pretty quiet since E3.
Oh, true. But they're making good progress on World of Warcraft vanilla, and they've actually succeeded in recreating it. The problem is they've recreated vanilla WoW with server issues from 2003. So
yeah, we talked a little bit about this on the instance on Friday.
Yeah. So they got to go back and add all the hacker protection and the updates that they've done in the background to actually make it a 2018 game.
Yes, exactly. To me, my understanding is that the big problem is that none of the old code is up to snuff with Blizzard's new security efforts. So they're trying to apply their modern code to classic data.
Oh, look at this. You'd be happy that Telltale is ditching its old engine.
God bless them. Yes. Oh, thank God. It's so bad, Kyle. It's so bad.
It's clunky for how bad it is in a good way. Like I like it. Like we are playing through the Batman Enemy Within. I hate that name, by the way, because it's the name of the XCOM game I like too, and I'm like, but there's an enemy within.
I get confused. That's like YouTube always wants to label Into the Nexus as a Ratchet and Clank video.
Because there was an Into the Nexus game.
There was a Ratchet and Clank Into the Nexus game.
But it's real good. It's a nice, unique little story. They kill off whoever they want because it's in an isolated universe. You got Joker's really unique. It's really good stuff.
Oh, nice, man. Nice. Are you interested in playing Classic WoW, by the way?
I am. So the way I put it to my friend the other day who was texting me asking me if I was excited for the next expansion, I said, I normally don't recommend this style of dating, but it's okay when it comes to WoW to just not break up because you haven't found someone better.
That's fair.
And that's how I feel about WoW. I really, every time I see new screens, new loot, new monsters, dungeons, I'm like, yes, yeah, that's great. Look at all that. And then I see it move in motion, that the butt wiggling as the shoulders at the side and the walk. And I'm just like, I have done this so many times. And someone tab targets something. I'm like, never again, please. I've left. It's like we're still trying to play Assassin's Creed 1. No, like we baked in Batman to make Witcher. Like times have changed. And yet, so I don't want to control that way. I don't want to have that interface anymore. But it's still the best MMO there is. And it's an MMO, and I want to be in an MMO. So I play WoW. It's a weird feeling. And when it comes to vanilla, that's like, it's so stupid. But I kind of want it. And that's how I feel.
Yeah, I guess my question was less about, because I know where you stand on MMOs. It was everything you just said. I'm aware of that. I was curious if there was like any part of you that was interested in it from either nostalgia or like as an archivist.
I did play quite a bit of vanilla, and I did get to raid, Onyxia and do quite a bit of BlackRock and stuff like that. So AQ even a little bit, stuck my toe in there back in the day. I was all Alliance for this too. So it'd be interesting to see. But the magic of vanilla WoW was the blind magic, the lack of data mining even.
Yeah, we had Thoughtbot and that was it.
Right. And like even like the instance episodes that were very useful, they had to be useful because we didn't know what was going on in the world or how stuff worked. And even they were kind of like scratching the surface, being like, hey, are we getting enough bandages? Like, what's going to happen? That was the magic of vanilla. And I don't think we can recapture that. And I feel like we're just going to be swarming old content forever.
Yeah, that's my question. Like, at what point does Classic WoW get the Lich King expansion? Or Burning Crusade, I guess, would be the next one.
Yeah, or do we just sit in there forever and it's the best it ever was because it's the most balanced and that's the PvP experience you want for the rest of your days?
I mean, my hope is that at some point, like, a perfect world for me would be to log into World of Warcraft and select which expansion I want to go to. Like, I would like the option to play Vanilla. I would like the option to play Burning Crusade. I'd like the option to play Wrath of the Lich King. I would like the option to play Mists. I would skip Cataclysm. I would skip Draenor.
I wouldn't mind going through Draenor to actually digest the story. I really like the Borderlands treatment of the bosses throughout that entire expansion.
Then you would dig it because they do that very well. By the end of it, I was done. That's the longest break I've ever taken from the game was during Draenor. I did not.
I think this is my longest, actually.
Yeah, you've been gone for a while, man.
I beat the 5-man content. That's what I wanted. And the islands never interest me. Since Myst, they've been doing this island looty system.
Island looty system?
Yeah, where they like open up an area and then it's like a questing infinite, chests open up randomly kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's fair. Yeah. Yeah, although the final island here would probably interest you because you straight up go to another planet.
Which is neat, but questing has always been the weakest experience for me personally because I want to heal.
Yeah, that's fair. Well, they added another 5-man, so at least you could do that if you wanted to dip your toe back into Legion. I have dusted off my very first character, so I finally unlocked Draenor flying so I could work on alts, and I want to spend the least amount of time there as humanly possible. So my Night Elf Hunter on Lightbringer, which is where he was originally created. He's never been race changed, name changed, or anything. He is he's there and he's ready to sync up with my wife's druid, who's just waiting at the beginning of Legion content.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, so I'm excited to hopefully convince her to get back on that train.
I know I'm out of the loop here. I loved artifact weapons, actually. I thought it was great. I thought it brought back old talent trees. What's the replacement? A necklace?
Yeah, we're getting a necklace in, what is it called? Battle for Azeroth. My brain is not firing on all cylinders this morning. Yeah, we're getting, it's like just a non-visual piece of loot that you level up, which I'm more for. I really miss looting weapons. I always got very excited about getting new weapons from raids and whatnot, so that being gone was a weird, like, negative of the draw of World of Warcraft for me. But yeah, so we won't see it, but there's still going to be a deeper talent tree to dive into, which I think is fine.
They've also got all this scandal going on with like a new Diablo over there.
I mean, we know they've been working on something for a long time. It's back in the news because they opened up a bunch of like positions that they're hiring for, but we already knew this. I don't know why everyone's losing their mind. It's not news.
Yeah. Well, I think everyone's expecting Path of the Exile, the infinite Diablo game.
Yeah. That's where it should go, right? Like at the point, but this is where Blizzard's at. all their games are services, and the ones that are not, StarCraft 2, don't seem to have a future. I honestly, I don't know why they just don't make Diablo 3 a service. It seems like they could, but
seems like I don't know. When they add a story campaign, it seems like it just gets confusing.
I mean, they've only added Reapers, and it was amazing. So, more of that, please.
Now, did you want to touch what's going on with Star Wars?
Oh, I would love to, Kyle. So, in the last week, we've had the announcement that Star Wars Stories films would be put on hold, and then Lucasfilm came out and said that report is inaccurate, but didn't specifically say Star Wars Stories are still being made. So it's nebulous.
Yeah.
And also probably irrelevant. They're still probably going to, whatever ends up happening, they're still probably going to end up being a Star Wars film every year from here and until eternity.
It's such a weird thing to happen because it's a victory to so many people.
How so?
Just the excitement, the fact that Solo failed, and people didn't want to like it in the first place, and then there was the social media campaign to make a remake of The Last Jedi, because Solo failed, everyone goes, that's because Last Jedi wasn't good enough to hold up the rest of the franchise, so we have to remake Last Jedi, and then everything will be okay.
Which is the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
The stupidest thing about it to me is that they want to remake a live action movie. Like Animatrix, that thing, maybe.
The stupidest thing about it is that any thought that this could actually be pulled off without Lucasfilm telling you to go die in a fire, and we will murder you with lawyers.
Well, and if you're an actor in that previous movie, you're not gonna sign up for that. That's an insult. You're saying that the project I worked on wasn't good enough, and I'm not gonna haul my old ass out of bed in order to film another version of it. It's done.
Yeah. I mean, I'm assuming, I don't know. They either A think if they can do it, that they'll do it with different actors, or B, are deluded. Like, hey, actors that we have literally abused to leaving social media, would you like to come remake this movie that we abused you over?
And
like, no, they're gonna tell you to fuck yourself.
Well, and when you look at their actual plan for it, it's by committee. Like, the whole script would be written by the internet and its contributors.
Yeah, I don't want that. I really don't. Last Jedi was not what I wanted, but what I don't want is committee script.
It's just gonna go bad. It always has. Anytime there's too many fingers in the pie, you gotta have a creative director.
Right.
And that woman needs a vision.
Right.
And
I want to head everyone off of the past. Like, save your emails. Like, if you want to come in with like, oh, come on, they wrote the Last Jedi with a committee. Like, you know what I mean, and that is not what I am saying. There's a difference.
Oh yeah. If we're talking about that it has to go through committee, of course.
Right. There's definitely more than one person involved in the drafting of The Last Jedi. Hell, there's more than one listed and credited for writing it. But yeah, it's just, I'm just annoyed. Like, I feel this is where we are in Star Wars now, and maybe this is just because I'm more informed with popular opinion but this is darker and less fun for me than it was growing up and getting picked on and physically bullied for liking these movies.
Sure. And I mean, with your finger on that pulse, you're digesting all sorts of crap. I'm
doing my best to avoid it. Like, if I start to sniff out, it's like, oh, this is one of those people. Like, I just avoid it because I don't want to take in the toxicity. But even with actively trying to avoid Star Wars takes that aren't into it, it's still there. It's
such a fascinating evolution of our news media and, what I did call earlier, yellow journalism. They use the same language they use in political articles towards Star Wars fans. And that's what continues the cycle. And of course it's making money. You drive people to websites, you keep people Jimmy Russled and frazzled. They're going to keep going to find more information. Like look at this one. Star Wars fans fundamentally misunderstand Star Wars. So it's a movie. But you have told me that I do not understand Star Wars. And of course my first reaction is of course I understand. I'm a fan. I know Star Wars. Why would you tell me that?
Right, because it gets you to click on the article so that you can get angry in the comments. One of the best ways to get clicks on your website is to incite the comments section to fight with itself.
I'm real happy Blizzard has removed comments from their website.
Have they? There's comments?
Yeah. They have. They're gone. All the updates on the news and everything else that they do over on the official site is clean and leads you to the forums.
Well, then why does... Oh, okay. So you have to click through the forums. That must have been what I was reading. I don't know. I don't actively seek out comments in the first place. But, yeah, I don't know. The Last Jedi remake thing is just the most idiotic thing I have seen in forever. The fact... Like, it just... is so easy to instantly dismiss it because it's like it's a website that you go to and it asks you how much you would like to pledge. So I could go in and type in whatever obscene amount of money I would like to, and that makes it look like, oh, look at all this money that people would like to give to remake The Last Jedi, but there's nothing to back any of it up.
It's the old shut up and take my money, rubbing money on the screen, Steam, my wallet's here, what are you doing? And then it comes out and everyone's like, well, I don't know. 3 other things came out this week and, my dog is sick. And you're like, you were there. You said you wanted this.
I can literally say I would give more money than I will ever have in my entire life. And there's no way of the system to stop me from doing that. It's stupid. And just hilarious. Like the fact that it's getting any news time and then here we are giving it more spotlight is it's just absurd.
It's fascinating. It's interesting that the battle against it is so strong. In video games we have so many flops often, and your favorite franchise will be dragged through the mud. I mean, I really liked Dreamcast Sonic. I had a Game Gear where I played a lot of Sonic. I'm not a Sonic fan because years and years ago, they dragged me through the mud. And I got sick of it. And I grew up. Shadow stopped being cool. He started being lame. So that's just kind of what happens.
I would argue that Sonic just stopped being good after Dreamcast. I don't think they've made a good Sonic game.
And that one wasn't particularly good, but the speed at which you flew and the mechanics were extremely unique and the graphics were great. But chaos control and all sorts of stuff like that just doesn't hold up. And collecting rings in a modern graphic system just doesn't do it for me anymore. But those poor fans have been destroyed by their creators. And yet they're still there.
Right. So I don't know. It's just so for me, Star Wars, like I always say that Star Wars is one of the last, like the few things left in this world that I am not cynical about, and that to me is a treasure. To a lot of people, it's probably like, oh well, whatever. You're gonna always give a biased view about Star Wars, and I'm here telling you, yes, I will, and you should expect that from me.
I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
I'm trying to protect it. Everything else in this world, Kyle. Heroes of the Storm and Hearthstone, 2 things I love very much, but I'm cynical about it. I have a very highly tuned critical eye to these 2 games now because of my time spent with them. And there are days it feels like a job. I don't want Star Wars to ever to get to that for me. I really don't. And I don't want to let a bunch of asshats on the internet who want to harass actors who had nothing to do with writing the script into my life.
I wonder, too, the YouTube machine and what it's done. And not in a bad way. I love game theory and film theory. But, when that guy goes and sees a movie, does he enjoy himself? I'd say Matt Pat probably does because just his personality. And he seems like he has a lot of fun with life. But, when you're sitting there in the theater watching Star Wars for the first time and you're thinking, how am I going to make my 13 things that could have fixed the story video so I can get my clicks? What sort of life is that?
Yeah. I don't know. And I try very hard not to create content in that way. But it's hard.
I think
your brain, if you do something for long enough, your brain will eventually start to flirt with those ideas.
Grass is always greener and whatnot. And I mean, that's why I'm so selective with my main show games. I know when there's a game that I will love or I will at least play ad nauseum and I can share that love with other people.
Yeah. Yeah.
And speaking of, if I may, speaking of things wrong with scripts and whatnot, how was Jurassic Park?
I actually had fun with it.
I can't believe you put a 5 on this thing. Oh my God.
It's technically Jurassic Park 5, Kyle.
Wow.
It's Jurassic World 2, but it's Jurassic Park 5.
So I've heard it's got a satisfying gimmick, the volcano. And what child didn't draw dinosaurs alongside a volcano going off? In fact, those volcanoes were always going off.
Yeah, man, this movie goes places I didn't think it was going to, for better or for worse. It's dumb. It is real dumb. But Jurassic World is really dumb. Like, I think it's one of the dumbest scripts ever. The first Jurassic World. I think.
How dumb are we talking? Like, between Lost World and did 3 even have a title, mini title?
I think it was just Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah. On the scale of dumb, there, like, stealing raptor eggs and riding a parachute, or doing acrobatics to kick a velociraptor. Where are we at?
Ooh, I'm not sure. Well, if you're getting that granular, I'm not sure there's anything in either of these movies that's as dumb as that.
Oh, well, that's great.
But I would rather watch Lost World or Jurassic Park 3 than Jurassic World or Jurassic World Fallen Kingdom.
Did it suffer from the previous movies' lack of use of the cool stuff they set up? Like, I always think about the employee number or the people number. And they're like, we have so many people in the park. Look at it. And it's like 10,000. And we never go back to that number. And
you wanted to see that number going down. And I'm with you. I am so with you there.
It's so grim. I know. But damn it, you set it up and you didn't use it.
The movie's grim. There's nothing like that. But the movie, where the state of the park in this film doesn't allow for that.
Sure. We go back to the same park? It's not a Site B?
Yeah. I mean, I just try and stay spoiler free as possible, but that's in the trailer, man. They go right back to the same park from the first film. Well, fourth film. From the first fourth film.
Perfect.
It's Jurassic World is weird. I've done a lot of like after show talks about that. I think I talked to you about this after Into the Nexus last week. I talked to Jocelyn about it, I think, after Angry Chicken last week. But I don't think I've done it on a proper recorded podcast. Jurassic World is this weird movie where, like the first one, where I think it is one of the dumbest scripts I've ever watched play out in a movie, and yet it's still inherently fun. Like, if it's on, I'll watch it. Like, it's still hit. Like, every Jurassic Park is this is true, and I think it's true for the new one. Like, if any Jurassic Park, whether it's Jurassic Park or Jurassic World, is on, I will watch it. It doesn't matter. Yes, the first one is the best film, and none of the others come even close to recapturing what the first one does. But I will watch 2 through 5 just for fun.
I know I'm poking at your spoiler-free stance here.
Okay.
But how did we get to the real world this time?
Skip ahead 5 minutes through rehashing the plot from Lost World.
Oh, okay. So we loaded them on a boat, and then that didn't go well, and they got out.
Actually, it goes pretty well.
Oh,
it's very up until a certain point, it's very self-contained. Where on the mainland all this is going down.
Okay,
it goes a lot better than it did in Lost World.
That's good.
Let's put it that way. And there, oh god, man, there's so many good set pieces in this. This is the other thing, like, although it's weird, I really like the design language in Jurassic Park movies. I love big angular concrete installations in the middle of tropical rainforest. Like, that is just an aesthetic that I love and I will never get tired of seeing. I love Jurassic Park paddocks. It's great. It's a great design language, and it's great from the first all the way through to the most recent. And there's some really freaking cool design in this movie. Also, I had the most obnoxious audience I could have ever hoped for. This is like the third movie in a row now. I have gone to the theater and been surrounded by children with their parents that will not shut the hell up. Just kids talking through the entire movie, and their parents do nothing about it.
I mean, they're tuned out, right? Like, I remember when I went to my wife's house, a big family house for the first time. You know, I was dating her in college, and everyone shoots up when you enter the door. Like, I'm part of like a small family of 4 where like nobody cares when you're home, and you have to be like, Dad, Ma. Eventually, maybe someone will be like, we're in here. But like, this whole family shot up out of their seats, and like 3 dogs go spinning around me, and nobody can hear the dogs. And I'm like, do you not see all the noise that I'm surrounded by? And they're tuned out. They don't know anymore. So I assume that's what's happening with these parents. The kids are so loud all the time, they just can't even fathom that there is volume happening next to them.
I just don't get it. I have no sympathy for it, because this was not the way I was raised. My parents were very adamant about the way to behave in certain social environments, and I would be reprimanded for not acting accordingly. So it's just, I'm not kidding. It's the third movie in a row now where I have had to deal with this, and I don't get it. I'm like, I turn around and the kid is sitting right next to one, if not both parents, and they're not doing shit about it.
I mean, do you think maybe our kids' franchises, since we've grown up, have become grown up in a sense, and the stories are just really boring to them?
I think parents are just terrible nowadays.
Maybe. I mean,
It doesn't help, dude, that I still have that Fortnite article in the back of my head where it's like, 7-year-old child diagnosed with Fortnite addiction. Is Fortnite too addicting for your child? And I'm like, no, your parents are terrible. You need to parent your kid.
Yeah, I know we talked about what the violence in video games
came up last
week.
But
yeah. Did we talk about the classification of that fine disease?
No, we didn't get into that, and I'm not particularly well informed on that subject.
Sure.
So there's not much I can say other than that doesn't strike me as a surprise.
20 hours a week, man.
Yeah.
Makes you an addict.
Okay, yeah, that's dumb. But that's the actual classification. 20 hours.
Well, I think there's a bunch of like quantifiers, like it has to pull from sleep and things like that to be destructive.
Okay, I think that's fair then. Yeah.
But I mean, you could also just, read Twitter and stay up late.
Right. I mean, it should be more nuanced than if you think that you actually have addictive traits. You should see a qualified professional.
Yeah, and I think the scary part for a lot of people is the medication that might come along with it, and the idea that, even something like my dyslexia was something that teachers, parents were interested in treating with medication at one point. And that seems crazy. And the whole reason I can juggle, like I've said, is because I thought it was really cool when I was young, and I became obsessed with it. Kids are obsessive. That's how they get good at stuff.
Right. It's just, what are you going to aim them at? And what's even going to stick? Because my parents aimed me at a million things. They tried so hard, bless their souls, to get me into sports. None of it stuck. None of it. I hated every sport they signed me up for, whether it was... they tried like as normal as baseball and as weird as bowling and golf.
The weird thing about that is it's always what's available, though. Like, I remember my parents, my teachers being like, why aren't you interested in a second language? You need this. It'll look good for college. And I'm like, I am. I care about German. I want to know Japanese. I'll maybe even take French. And they're like, you want Spanish? And I'm like, I don't. It looks like English. It literally drives me insane.
Yeah.
Some of the words look the same. You just put an E on the end. Like, I literally can't. Yeah.
I mean, that was what is for me and musical instruments is I wanted. At first I had no interest, but they were like, "You will learn an instrument. Here's piano. Go play." And I didn't care because I couldn't play anything I listened to. And then when I finally wanted to quit, they're like, "Fine, but you need to pick another instrument." And I was like, "Cool, guitar." And I still play guitar until to this day. I'm still playing guitar.
I bought, for Christmas for myself a violin that I practice because I always wanted one. And instead I got a snare drum. And then 5 years later, I wanted back in on the violin and I got a saxophone.
All right, the snare drum, I at least was like, okay, well, it can be cost prohibitive. Instruments, hobbies in general can be extremely cost prohibitive. I think they threw me into golf because we had like an old pair of my grandfather's clubs laying around, or set.
Right. Yeah.
Bowling was easy because they had balls there, and if you really wanted to get into it, buying one bowling ball wasn't that bad. But I could see the snare drum, but not getting a violin. But a saxophone, those are expensive. You could get a violin.
I mean, I do.
Your parents are just screwing with you at that point.
I mean, as I've grown up, there's more budgets, and I've budgeted myself and my fun, and I totally get, like, a kid comes home, and they're like, $25 for school supplies, and me buying, like, what the crap is the teacher doing with $25? How many highlighters do they need? Like, I'm going to go buy them erasers at the Goodwill right now, and then we'll drop them off to them. How's that sound? Frugal is the word I like to use.
We've gotten pretty off base here.
Was this still Jurassic Park?
How did we get here from Jurassic Park?
Oh, kids don't like it.
Yeah. You derailed me from my point, which was Jurassic World was this crescendo of me being sick and tired of parents not parenting their kids in the theater. And so I think part of the reason I liked it so much is at the end of this movie is terrifying if you are a child. And I started laughing out loud alone. No one else was laughing because the annoying kids around me were terrified by the horrifying imagery on display. And I was happy that they're probably going to have nightmares for a month and ruin their parents' sleep schedule.
Was it the bed scene?
I mean, that's part of it. That's part of it. There's
is that a good old-fashioned house hunt?
A bit, yeah. Sweet. Yeah. The horror aspect's done pretty well, which is part of why I liked it. But there's a great arm being eaten scene. That's just if you're a kid, probably horrible.
Like stick your hand through them, then kind of thing.
Just straight up an arm being eaten. An arm being ripped off and eaten.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I was.
Well, they got to learn. We're made of meat. I
was like, yes, that's what you get for bringing your 5-year-old to Jurassic World. You terrible, god awful parent.
Well, I remember when I went to Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, how bored the teenagers were next to me. And, I'm like, don't any of you have father issues? They do, probably. But you really don't care about them until you're, like, mid-20s and, like, trying to figure out your place in the world and if you want to be a father.
I would have absolutely been bored as shit in Guardians 2 if I had seen it in high school.
Right? Yeah, that's fair.
I would have so seen it as boring as hell. But as an adult, it hit me as the single greatest film ever made about adoption.
I think that's fair.
Yeah, like it hit me really like in a weird personal spot. Like I don't think about the fact that I'm adopted very often. That movie really made me think about it and how important my relationship with my family is.
Oh, and it made me think of, my take on it was, what sort of father will I be? And all these sort of questions too. And you simply just aren't asking those things as a teenager child. And maybe our movies are boring. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I think I watched and I didn't care about. Oh boy, Indiana Jones, the original. What did I find boring in there?
In Raiders?
Yeah.
Probably the relationship with Sala, the fact that he's a teacher, any of the scenes with the government.
That's true. I did like Sala more and more as I got older. Also, him being Gimli really tickled me.
Like, I liked him just as, like, he was fun as a sidekick, but I'd never really understood the relationship.
Yeah.
Like, how he even knows him. Like, a lot of this stuff just went over my head. I just wanted to see a snake pit and a fight around an airplane.
Well, in the recent Avengers, Vision and Scarlet Witch's relationship, that whole scene would have bored me to tears as a kid. And the fight wasn't interesting enough. It introduced the bad guys, but I didn't like any of those characters anyway. Whereas an adult now, even though I'm not big fans of the characters, I'm like, wow, love, that sucks. Crap, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, age plays a big role, and it can go the opposite way, right? Like you can see a dumb movie that's a lot of fun, and you're gonna like it more when you're younger.
Yeah, no, it's true. Secret of the Ooze.
Well, that's very young. I'm trying to think of like when I was a teenager. Like, what's a good like? I guess all like stoner and like sex comedies.
Those are a time and a place.
There's a small window when that's gonna land on you, and anything that comes out after is probably gonna fall flat.
How interesting that those are such college movies and the workplace is always so romanticized.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, like 40-Year-Old Virgin. That's not a bad place to work. They're always hanging out. They're taking naps on the couch. You got, I think, a grandma's boy. He works at a video game place. And again, not a bad place to work.
I love grandma's boys.
Or like Never Been Kissed. Like any of those, I guess I wouldn't say Never Been Kissed is like the female version of Grandma's Boys, the male version, but the workplace is always pretty nice.
40-year-old version is weird because of the age of everybody there, but I understand the other ones that skew younger. Because I now look back at my first job rather positively, but at the time I remember just being like, I don't want to work. I just want to hang out with my friends and whatnot. But I was hanging out with my friends at work. There was a lot of goofing around.
That's right. You had a high school job, right?
Yeah, man. I worked at the same retirement home kitchen for 3 years straight.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I like basically every position there was in that kitchen. I started as a waiter, then I was a waiter / a dishwasher. Eventually, I was a supervisor.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it was weird, man. And I also did prep cooking, which I loved because I didn't have to deal with people. I just got to stay in the back and make cakes.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, it was sweet. I didn't get to handle any of the meat, but a lot of baking.
I fed horses, so I didn't hang out with my friends.
Always comes back to horses with you.
Well, it's when you start thinking about my childhood, there's a lot of horses in it.
Yeah, I could see where that wouldn't be romanticized. But yeah, when I think about it.
That's why I got a saxophone. As weird as it is, right? Because my mom
you start playing one and friends appear?
No. Like my mom was brought up in a household where they didn't really know how to manage kids, and they had 2 of them. So they just kind of went, anything we spend on one, we'll make sure we spend on the other so it's equal. And my mom brought that with her. So anytime my sister got a new saddle or got a horse upgrade or what, I don't know. I don't really know anymore. She went to a show and it cost money to do a show and you get ribbons. I would get a new video game, or I might get suddenly a saxophone. Okay. Because they didn't know where to spend that money on me because they didn't understand my hobbies.
But it sounds like you specifically asked for a violin. So again, I'm perplexed by the saxophone.
Yeah, I mean, it was probably I probably blame my parents. It was probably something like it was an orchestra, it was a band, not an orchestra, and you can't have strings in a band, maybe.
No, I guess it could depend on your school's activities, right? Because we had some side musical thing at our high school that involved strings.
Oh, you can only blast hot cross buns with so many instruments before he loses his mind. So he cut them down to just woodwinds. I mean, all instruments I feel like are annoying. Like if you're gonna buy your child an instrument, you're signing up for a certain amount of mild insanity while they learn. So I'm trying to think, even like, is being bad at saxophone less annoying than being bad at violin? Because I'm not sure it is. It is when the kid refuses to replace his reed because he hates the teacher.
Fair enough.
So he pretends to play through class.
All right. Sounds good.
Yeah, it was vengeance. Dick move, little Kyle.
This has been a delightful ad-libbed stroll, by the way. We did not plan on having any of these conversations, and I've really enjoyed it. Oh, man. This show is really, if nothing else, than a weird retrospective on growing up.
It's the information we have to process the current world, right? And with things as crazy as they can be at times, you look back and you see if there's a simpler time. And you go, nah, I don't think things have ever been simple.
No.
Always complicated.
No, they haven't. I'm sure if I was reading fan sites around the time of the prequels, I would have really been annoyed by Star Wars fans again.
Maybe, right? It's tough to know where people spend their time and who's there. And I do trust anonymous sources more nowadays because of clicks and money and everything else. And when I see just some opinion thrown in the air, I digest that a lot more than I see this guy. And then you see a check mark next to his name, and then like the diatribe he's trying to spin and the clicks he's trying to get. I'm like, whoa, this is career anger.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah, especially like gaming journalism at the moment, I'm drawn more to historical overviews than I am like single game discussions.
Yeah,
I'm more interested in the industry as a whole, how we got here, and where they're projecting we're moving. Or like I'm still a very big fan of the whole crew over at Giant Bombcast, because they're very upfront with the kinds of games that they like, and so you know how to take it when they start talking about a game.
Sure,
and I've got a lot of respect for that kind of brand of coverage.
There's also a fun to it, right? There is a joy in just saying something's bad and not wanting to go beyond that. And when you find alike tastes, you know when that person says, "Oh, I hate it," that they're not haters, that they're not just trashing it. They could use better words if they wanted to, but we're all here to hang out with so-and-so, and they think it's bad. You know they think it's bad, so let's move on.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting later today, man. I'm going into the Westworld finale, and if I wasn't doing the show, I think my tweet would just be, "This is not worth it anymore." But there's really interesting things to like pick apart in there, so I'm gonna show up and I'm gonna try and focus more on the puzzle and less my actual opinion. But it's gonna be rough because I'm not excited for season 3 now.
I mean, that's how I feel about Game of Thrones right now, and that does make me sad. And it makes me even sadder to see that Game of Thrones had such a cultural impact on the way we tell stories, and that I don't like the way those stories are told anymore. I think season 1, 2, phenomenal, right? Like the whole Green Fire Black Battle of the Blackwater, was it?
Yep. Now season 2 is the high point for that entire show.
Everything until, crossbows in the bathroom is great. Just stupid great. And I'm looking at World of Warcraft now, and I'm going, woo, you drank that Kool-Aid hard. And it's no longer season 1, 2 Kool-Aid, is it? You just want to kill everybody. Everybody's a bastard in your world.
Pretty much. I mean, I still enjoy Game of Thrones enough to follow it, but it is not the quality that it started as. And I feel the same way about Westworld. It just, to me, has hit a low point a lot sooner than Game of Thrones.
I want to watch it. I want to watch the original movie, too.
I will be doing that soon. I assume it's probably a lot easier to follow because it's Michael Crichton.
Yeah, I'm expecting Omega something or other. Like lots of old Michael Crichton movies are pretty boring. He didn't add action in yet, and they're more like, well, they're thrillers, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, shall we take some questions from Twitter?
Let's do that.
Folks, if you'd like to write in, we have an email, amovetv@gmail.com. If you want to send a question into Weeksauce, or you can tweet at us at GarrettArt, at Kyle Ferguson, and let us know what you want to ask us. Bruins, with a bunch of numbers, asks, what is the origin of A-Move and Frog Pants working so close? This is a boring one. We invited Scott on StarCast once. He came on. We kept talking to him.
Basically.
The first time I started working with Scott with any regularity was I guested on the Old Republic instance spinoff a lot. I was on more than half of the episodes that they ever made of that show. So that was working with him regularly. And then when we started TAC, I was just like, hey, you want to throw this on Frog Pants? And he was like, sure. And that was how that happened.
I think from my perspective, it was really the BlizzCon. He put together a sort of streaming podcasters event because there was no BlizzCon one year, and we were the StarCraft guys in the sense that we were, the casual radio show that sort of matched the instance and didn't really become too obsessed at esports at that point.
Yeah, it wasn't super try hard. It wasn't state of the game. Yeah, we did a lot of like back end work with him on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I almost completely forgot about that. I had just moved back from California, had almost stopped podcasting. And yeah, decided to keep going. A few months later, Scott announced he was going to do that. Yeah, I was still recording in the living room and would have to ask my roommates to be quiet. That was fun.
Yeah, I had to do that too.
And then eventually I started recording in the not air-conditioned garage.
I remember that one. The time limits were very tight then.
Yeah, it was like, we are doing an hour. If we go over, I'm cutting you off and ending the show.
Yep. That was also Chicago internet times when I would randomly cut out.
Yep.
Because everyone would log on at 5 p.m. in the middle of our show in the city.
Looking back on it, I have no idea how I kept podcasting.
I think this is going to sound a little sad, but it's what we had.
It was. We had nothing better to do.
Well, and it's what related me to my chosen degree and profession. I got a degree in theater and communications, planning to work in video games and, do voice acting and stuff like that. And I was doing voice acting work, but it was extremely difficult as a dyslexic and doing things off the cuff.
Yeah.
With words from my mouth instead of off a paper was a lot easier.
It's just thinking about it in a vacuum of me in my garage sweating to death. I don't know how I stuck with it, man. I really don't. I think you're right. I think at a certain point it brought worth to my life more than it probably should have. But that's what helped me push through. That and just unfulfilling jobs, man. I was working at the sign shop at the time, and that was killing me inside.
Yeah, I was working at the bookstore. Was kind of neat, but that did go under when the big book collapse of Amazon happened.
Oh man, I remember talking to you through all that, and you're like, vultures, man.
Oh, well, that was we put up the clearance signs, and just people wanted to argue with you over a 50-cent book and getting it for a quarter, and you're just like, I'm losing my job, bro. You're nuts.
There's some freedom with that, though.
There was, and ultimately it led me into data entry, which made me furious with my work. And that was the motivation that got me to, pursue this full time and monetize it and do all that scary stuff.
Yeah, man. Wow. Remembering all of that. But because that was before this was anything close to monetized. Making any type of a living from doing this stuff. So it was weird. It was a weird time.
It's crazy. And I streamed on Twitch in 2000. Would it have been like 12? And there was no future there. I guess it was Justin TV at the time, actually, that I streamed Mass Effect 2 on too.
I remember you doing that. Yeah, and prep for 3 coming out.
Yep, and then God of War 2 and it was just it's fascinating that was an interesting hobby, but you could never imagine that making any money. And the whole idea of YouTube stars hadn't really even come up yet.
The first time I saw Mass Effect 3 gameplay actually was watching you stream it.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, I was currently going through 2, and 3 had come out, and I hadn't beaten 2 yet, so I wasn't interested in picking it up. But I tuned into your stream in the very early stages so that I wouldn't be spoiled about the ending, which turns out I would have been fine getting spoiled because the ending is bad.
Doesn't really tell you much about the main story either when you select a color.
True. Very true. Oh, Mass Effect 3.
But
it still stings.
In all honesty, it's a glorious partnership, and the Frog Pants community is run like a family, and getting to be a part of that has really meant a lot to me. And I'm also playing D&D with that community now, and that's just such an important aspect of my nerddom.
Yeah. A lot of like every now and then I still meet folks who think it's some type of big like business deal, and it's not. It's just friends helping friends. Just kind of cross promotion more than anything else. There's nothing signed. There's no money exchanging hands. It's just for fun, and it's really cool. And it's something that's very weird. And it's very weird now that I'm on the instance on the regular, because that was the first podcast I listened to. I was listening to that thing back in 2009. No, not 2009. 2005. would have been when I started listening to that, because it's when I started playing World of Warcraft. So as a freshman in college is when I started listening to that show, and now I am on it. That is.
Oh, the voices aren't as scary anymore.
No, they're not. But it's still weird. It's still very weird. Like when I think about it, like if I could like jump in a time machine, go back in time, like kick open the door. Well, maybe not kick open the door, but enter with dignity the figure drawing class, because it was kind of frowned upon to enter that room with a naked person in it without needing to be there, and look at college me and be like, hey, you heard me on that show you listened to in like almost a decade, and I wouldn't believe myself.
Nah.
Yeah, it's gonna be strange. It's weird. It's very weird, but awesome at the same time. But yeah, it's just cool getting to work with people that you respect. That's what it boils down to. Like, Jocelyn and Dills were first. Like, I mean, I started working with you. There was no prior. I didn't listen to you ahead of time. We started working.
There was nothing to listen to.
But like, I listened to the gamers, and I listened to Dills on the Instance. Like, and so I got to start working with them, and then piecemeal over time doing things here and there with Scott. Like, it was really cool. But yeah, man. Our next question comes to us from @HeyTallMan, that says, with summer games done quick, starting up, if you had the time and drive to get really good at speedrunning a game, what would y'all pick to run?
Ooh. Yeah, so we eject ourselves into the brain space of an imaginary world where I've never seen a speedrunning game before, and I'm not intimidated.
Sonic 2.
That's a good one.
Oh,
yeah, because anything where you can move fast, right? No one wants to speed run a turn-based
slow game.
Yeah.
I just played the crap out of Sonic 2 growing up. It was it was the first game I had on my Genesis, which was the second console I owned. I just played a lot of it. So I would like to learn how to play the second Sonic game really well and really fast, because I feel like it would look cool.
I mean, I've seen people do like speed runs of Final Fantasy VII. It's just wick, 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 as like the menu scroller deluxe, basically. I think I'd have to go with Banjo-Kazooie, the original.
Ooh.
That's probably the most satisfying game to do quick, in my opinion, because like the way you would even do the turkey trot, the jump on the green pads where you could sort of slide into it a little bit with the momentum you had. There's a lot there. Mario naturally with the headbutts and the jumping and all the tricks that have been discovered in there, I think is a very satisfying one. But Banjo-Kazooie for me was better than Mario.
I think I just slightly preferred Mario, but I really enjoyed Banjo-Kazooie, which is weird because I don't grab onto platformers easily. Like, to me, it's like it's Mario and Sonic. Like, that's it.
No, I mean, look at the most recent Mario. There was something to Banjo-Kazooie with the trading out abilities and transforming into things and the evolution of a world and finding a door you can't open yet.
Yeah. Banjo-Kazooie, yeah. I think I'd go with Sonic. The other one that's weird is, Brawl. Smash Brothers Brawl had that insane story mode. I would like to speedrun that.
Sure. Yeah.
What was it? Subspace Emissary? That's what it was called, I believe.
You're right. That is what it was called.
Yeah, just completely bonkers name. That confuses the hell out of me. But yeah, I would love to try and speedrun Subspace Emissary, just because I love the controls for Smash Brothers. It is just burned into my memory of how to play a Smash Brothers game.
I think those are the good ones.
Yeah. That'd be the only other one I could come up with.
Oh, maybe for nostalgia, Shadows of the Empire.
Ooh. I never had that game. I was still playing X-Wing versus TIE Fighter on the family computer.
Wow. So, wait, but you upgraded to Rogue Squadron, yeah?
Yeah, I did play Rogue Squadron. I just never play. I for whatever reason, I was more interested in flying than I was running around as a bad polygonal third person.
Oh, you mean in general video games?
No, in specifically flying in Star Wars or playing Shadows of the Empire.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Because the majority of that game was played third person, right? I know there were flying pieces, there were vehicle pieces, but the majority of it was running around in third person.
Certainly the longer levels where you would fall through the train tracks.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just, I think at the time it just didn't look that interesting to me. And none of my friends played it. We all played Rogue Squadron. We all played the PC X-Wing games.
I was obsessed with green lightsaber Dark Luke, and he was a feature in Shadows of the Empire.
Ah, gotcha. He is pretty cool. I can't blame you with that.
He is. that imagery of the red and blue on his face when he's hiding out under Dad's staircase is good stuff.
I want to go watch Return of the Jedi now.
Do it.
Babylon Redeemer asks, is there a genre or setting in movies/gaming that you wish was utilized more?
I don't know if this is a genre as much as maybe a monster device, but I really love evolution, like Aliens, like getting to see the baby velociraptor before you see the adult velociraptor, just hinting at what a beast is and what it's become and coming across its shed skin. Like, I just love that, which is why I love XCOM too, because you're always meeting new enemies all the time and seeing how they upgraded from one even.
So you just want like more sci-fi horror as a setting?
Yeah, sci-fi horror. I think Cthulhu does it well because it's unobtainable and the camera should never really point at the enemy in the first place. And once you do, it's over, kind of thing. So it's more of a device, but I like it. Like even the T-Rex. How in Jurassic Park did the T-Rex get his tiny arm on that electric line? Because he was testing it? Like he's like turned completely sideways to even put it up there.
If someone drew the other side of that fence, it would look ridiculous.
Yeah, it would, but it totally works.
Yeah, that's pretty absurd. I mean, with Cyberpunk coming out, I'm just left kind of remembering that there hasn't been a lot of Cyberpunk games. Not necessarily like with the Cyberpunk license, but Cyberpunk as a genre.
What do you like classify as Cyberpunk rather than futuristic?
I would say Blade Runner is Cyberpunk, whereas futuristic would be something like Star Trek.
Okay.
I mean, it's science fiction at a certain point, but futuristic, I mean, Futurama would be like futuristic, where it's, or like Back to the Future 2 kind of stuff.
Is it a like an ignoring of base desires? What?
Thank you, Kilmarnock. Fifth Element. Fifth Element is futuristic. Blade Runner is cyberpunk.
Okay, there's a good one. That's a cool mental experiment because they both have the sort of Asian influence worlds that the global sphere, I guess, is probably the better way to say it.
Right. Or Ghost in the Shell also, I would say, is cyberpunk.
But Fifth Element isn't because it's a fantasy story, perhaps.
It doesn't explore either cybernetic enhancements or straight up AI.
Okay.
So if you have androids or people who have made cybernetic enhancements to themselves, that's like to me, that's what you need to be cyberpunk.
I mean, honestly, when it comes to Cyberpunk the game, I am very scared. And Jeff Kanata actually was someone who said it's more Fifth Element than Blade Runner. And that to me is huge. And I'm sure to a couple of people that's disappointment, but like I love Fifth Element. It's a fun story.
I was about to say, I think that's positive in my mind.
Yeah.
It's more fun.
Exactly.
I was actually talking to our mutual friend Ben about this because he wants to do a one shot for a cyberpunk RPG. Again, I don't think we're talking about genre, not license. Cyberpunk here, and he was talking about trench coat and sunglasses versus pink mohawk. They're both cyberpunk, but they're two different brands, or like flavors. So yeah. Blade Runner is kind of your sunglasses and trench coat. It's very subtle. It's very serious and dour. And then you've got your pink mohawk, which actually all I can think of right now as a good example is Rage 2, which is actually more of a post-apocalyptic Mad Max thing. But it there's a Venn diagram where those combine.
Yeah. That's I wonder where aliens fall into it, and does that stop Fifth Element from being cyberpunk?
Where do aliens fall? I think so. Yes. I think cyberpunk is very inherently like it doesn't necessarily have to be set on Earth, but in my mind, it's all humans.
Yeah, like even what was District?
9.
Yeah, that's like apocalyptic.
I mean, I would just say sci-fi. 'Cause it's very grounded. It's just aliens show up in the middle of nowhere and get put into shanty towns and they erect a ghetto for the aliens.
So we get so human rights or alien rights, and you can't have both in a cyberpunk.
To a certain degree, yeah. Yeah. I mean, now that you're making me think about it, District 9 is kind of like Cyberpunk, but instead of cybernetic enhancements, it's alien biology enhancements.
Yeah.
So it's playing with very similar themes, but I would also just because of flavor, I would say District 9 is sci-fi.
I haven't really thought about it.
I haven't either. Now you're really making me question myself, but I think I would still stand by that. Like, there's to a certain point, it needs androids.
I think so. I think that's an important aspect because that's what makes you ask the questions. The "Are we alone in the universe?" is already dealt with in these kind of worlds where there are aliens moving amongst us.
Yeah.
Maybe it's the fringe. Maybe it's the crossing over of an era as we've invented AI and what it's done to us. And are we human when you love a robot?
Yeah. Ben sent a really great rundown of basic interests. He was trying to gauge my interest. You know, if we're going to explore something in a cyberpunk setting, would you be interested? In quick examples he gave were, and I'm just reading from his text, hack the world, transhumanism, megacorporations, augmentations.
Mega corporations is a big part of it. Yeah.
Yep.
And I think we kind of mentioned the other ones.
Yeah, but that's also where it starts to. There's a Venn diagram between cyberpunk and sci-fi in that way because you've got like Weyland-Yutani in the Alien films.
That's true. They are evil. I don't know if they're all encompassing or just always involved in aliens. Whereas like the super corporations is more like Wall-E, right? The big, what was it called? Big Sale or something?
Oh God, I don't even remember. I really dislike the back half of that movie. But I think it's a story. At the end of the day, it's a story you're telling. So like, Blade Runner could very easily be a prequel to Alien. Like, like if you just swap out the corporation, which name is eluding me in Blade Runner at the moment, for Weyland-Yutani, you've just got the precursor to the androids that we see in Alien. But the difference is, what story are you telling? Are you telling a noir film? Are you telling like an adventure film? Are you telling a rather heady dystopian look at what makes a person a person? That's all cyberpunk. I think the second you introduce aliens and survival and horror, then it becomes a science fiction film.
Yeah, I think Moon actually kind of does a good job of being in between those two.
I haven't seen Moon.
It's worth watching if you're in kind of the mood for something a little Twilight Zone-ish. Very kind of black box theater, very small setting. Actually, only like one real actor in the whole thing kind of thing. If you've ever seen, was it Solaris or something like that with George Clooney? It's pretty much the same movie.
Can't say I have.
It's fascinating to watch Moon as such a small production and then go, how did this become World of Warcraft?
I don't know. I always think of, I always assume it's Sunshine, the Cillian Murphy movie, but I know it's not.
Oh, maybe.
Sunshine is, I really like that movie.
Wait, Sunshine, the one with the dead grandpa in the car and oh, that's Little Miss Sunshine. Okay.
That's Little Miss Sunshine. Sunshine has a Scarecrow from the Nolan Batman films starring in it.
Sunshine. Oh, old shirtless Rage McGee from. God, I love that scene because I mean, granted, I'm very proud of my goals. I've been working out so much, and I'm so exhausted. But when Cillian Murphy rips off his shirt, I'm like, that's my bod right there.
Are you talking about 28 Days Later?
Yeah.
Okay, I was trying like, when does he shirtless rage? And it took a minute. Oh, 28 Days Later is my favorite zombie
I've
movie.
seen this cover though a billion times.
Yeah, you should watch that. I haven't seen it in a while, so maybe it doesn't hold up as much as I thought, but I remember thinking it was just a rad sci-fi movie.
Oh, it's compared. Wait, so you go from Moon, 28 Days Later, and Equilibrium. Well, Children of Men, maybe, right? I really like Children of Men.
Also,
more than
haven't
like
seen
Contact.
Also haven't seen it. Children of Men, I remember multiple times almost watching it and being like, no, this is the kind of movie I need to be in the mood for, and I have yet to be in the mood for that movie.
I mean, I'd say the real joy of it is the longest camera shot ever kind of thing, which probably has been broken record at this point or something, but there's an impressive bit towards the end that's kind of the opus of it all.
Ooh, okay. Fair. But, okay, so you're going to go with sci-fi horror, and I'm going to go with the prequel to sci-fi horror, which is Cyberpunk.
Yeah. That was a cool discussion. I haven't really thought about that before, but I really love Fifth Element, despite a lot of hate against it. And I think that just comes from high school.
Really? That's interesting. Everyone I've ever known that's ever even mentioned Fifth Element just loves it outright.
I wasn't able to see it. I think it was, well, it definitely sexualized, so I didn't see it until college, way after the fact when it was popular.
Oh, same. Yeah. Nudity equaled wasn't allowed to watch it growing up. So
yeah.
I didn't see it until college either, but I loved it. It instantly became one of my favorite movies. There's not that much nudity in it.
No, but enough to like make your parents squirm and want to, fast forward through sheets being launched over her body.
Yeah, exactly. When in reality, I'm like, I don't know. I think it's on the same level as The Little Mermaid in its sexualization of its characters.
In cartoons, you always get away with a bit more.
Fair. Now I just want to go watch The Fifth Element. Well, thank you for your questions, everybody. Keep them coming, amovetv@gmail.com. I think it's going to wrap it up for the show. Kyle, before we go, where can everybody find you?
You can find me right now, actually. I'm about to start my stream over at twitch.tv/Kyle Ferguson for the week, Monday through Wednesday, 10 a.m. or so, happening there. Here's the Storm play. Mondays are the warm-up day, as I was playing XCOM all weekend. Probably shouldn't dive straight into real-time strategy after playing non-turn-based, non-real-time. I'm going to be bad, and that's the best thing about Monday. I'm bad, and you should join me for it.
Join me on Monday, because I'm bad.
Yeah.
Kyle Ferguson's new tagline. Folks, I'm Garrett Art on Twitter if you want to follow me on there and hear even more of my random stream of consciousness thoughts. All of the podcasts that I do, including this one, are at amove.tv. We'll be recording the final episode of Embrace the Spoilers for the second season of Westworld later today with our special guest, Scott Johnson. I have a feeling it's going to go long. There's a lot to take in that episode, even though I overall did not particularly care for it. There's still a lot to take apart, and whether I liked it or not, I have interesting concerns about what the hell season 3 will even look like. So,
if nothing else, these shows are always great water cooler talk.
Yes, absolutely. So that'll be it'll hit the feed late this evening. We don't record it live. But that'll be going up later today. Other than that, it's always the usual. Angry Chicken tomorrow, into the Nexus on Thursday. No R2-T2 this week. Had impromptu visits from friends. So that kind of dug into that. But that's going to wrap it up for this week's Weeksauce. We'll see you next Monday. Until then, good luck and have fun.
Take care.
Bam. There we go.
That was, without a doubt, the most scatterbrained episode. I loved it.
Really enjoyed it.
I'm glad.
Sometimes you just got to catch the wave.
Yep. Ride the walrus.
What is that from?
It's from Futurama. There's the ads in the background of a lot of episodes. Some sort of sports drink or something.
I was just thinking of the fucking penguin from Fight Club. Yeah. Slide.
Fight Club penguin. Just slide? Was it like a drink?
It's a spirit animal.
Oh,
it's a spirit animal.
I've only seen it like twice.
This is a penguin. He just walks up and he just says, slide. And that's it.
Not a fun movie. Good movie, but not fun.
I find it oddly fun. But
I can see that. But I also see him in your eyes sometimes. I think you've got that look.
what, Norton?
Yeah.
I'll take that as a compliment. He's one of my favorite actors.
No, totally. But like you've got to be shitting me face is so Norton. And he's making that face for like half the movie.
The bullshit has reached a maximum that I can no longer tolerate.
Yeah, exactly.
I think that's, yeah. All right, fair enough. That must be why I like him so much, because he plays that role in like every movie. It's like,
does it good.
You're gonna eat shit for the first half of this film, and the turn is gonna come when you can no longer eat this shit.
I'm off to stream.
Have a good one, dude. Good luck.
Thank you.
Burr, 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 burr. Gotta post the show. I guess I'll hang out with y'all while I do that. Let me, I'm gonna blip the stream if you want to, just chill, shoot the shit for a few minutes while I post the show. Stick around. I'll be right back.